If you've been going around the good old internet looking for the right podcast to fulfill your New York Yankees needs, well, I'll be the first to deliver the good news to you. You have found it. Here on Yapping Yankees with me, your host, Mike Scudero, you and I will be discussing the latest news, takes, and talk throughout the entire Yankee universe. Oh, and there may be some ranting on my behalf. Yeah. Anyway, what do you say we get to it? Let's get to yapping! Well, hello there, my fellow Yankee fans, and welcome to episode 232 of the Yapping Yankees podcast, if you could believe it. As always, I am your host, Mike Scudero, your friendly neighborhood Yankee yapper with the best yap in all the land, here on August 25th of the year, 2024. Yet another extra large order of the Yappuccino for you. Guys, I hope you're doing well amidst another gorgeous Sunday here, perfect weather day, perfect Yankee day, very nice day there. We'll get to that in just a second. But this is actually the final August episode for the 2024 season. It's absolutely crazy to think about that. When I talk to you next Sunday, it's going to be September 1st, and we're really going to be in the home stretch of the 2024 season, if you could believe that even for a second. It feels like just yesterday I was covering spring training for 2024. Hell, feels like yesterday I was just introducing myself amidst the month of May in 2019 when I first started this podcast 5 years ago, well over 5 years ago at this point. So it's absolutely bonkers how fast time continues to move along here. Feels like it literally just started in 2024. Now we're getting ready for the end. Absolutely insane, but I hope you are all doing well here at the end of August. I am recording the evening again tonight, well after the Yankees and Rockies rubber game matchup has concluded. So for this week, at least, because of how often it's been happening lately, no live in-game reactions for this Yapping Yankees episode. It has been happening a lot lately. The Yankees have had a good amount of Sunday night baseballs on ESPN in the last bunch of weeks and couple of months overall, but that is not the case tonight. But I do have ESPN Sunday Night Baseball on nonetheless, because the Astros and the Orioles are on right now, and as you can imagine, particularly with the Orioles because of the race for first place in the American League East Division, I happen to take an interest in how this game ends up. Orioles trying to win 3 out of 4 over the Astros, who obviously in the last couple of months have been a different team, much better. And the Astros just trying to even the series 2 apiece in this 4-game set they've had over there this weekend in Baltimore. Ought to be interesting. The Astros were up 2-0 later in the game yesterday until Jackson Holliday had cleared the bases with a 3-run double and led the Orioles to victory when it seemed like they were getting ready to lose. Unfortunately for the Yankees, they did mount that comeback, but we'll see what happens tonight. And I'll be keeping track of this game as we go along, not reacting to it as if it's a Yankee game, obviously, because I don't have that much interest. But for the sake of the Yankees winning first place, there is a general interest there, because I would like very much for my team to win first place, of course. So I'll be generally keeping up with that, and we'll see what happens. But if the Orioles win, then the Yankees will maintain their half-a-game lead in first place that they came into today with in first place. If the Orioles lose, they will take a game-and-a-half lead since the Yankees obviously won earlier today. And speaking of that win, what a win it was, guys. A lot happened. But this game, much like most Yapping Yankees episodes, inevitably, because that's just the way it is when it comes to the Yankees, but obviously both are centered around the main man, the man of the hour, the man of the year, the best hitter on the entire planet right now, Mr. Aaron James Judge, the New York Yankees captain. And as you could probably imagine, not only with just today, but also this past week overall, this man's accomplishments just continue to pile on one after the other, over and over again. If you want to start even earlier on in the week, well, after Wednesday night's game, I jotted all these stats down as they happened this past week because it just gets more and more incredible, and it's important to log these things. But after Wednesday night's game, after Judge hit his 2 home runs, much like he did today, but at the time, it was homers 46 and 47, just to give you an idea how many homers he's hit this past week alone. At this point, he was going into Wednesday night's game with 45 home runs, and now he has 51 in just the last few days. But after home runs number 46 and 47, Jeff Passan had posted on Twitter /X that Aaron Judge threw 127 games in 2022 to compare his season then and now, as we have done many a times. His slash line was 295 average, 396 on base, and 661 slugging, with 49 home runs and 109 RBIs. Which is incredible. It's still generational. It's like freaking crazy. Now, like we've all talked about, for months on end, with Judge being on the tear that he has been on since quite literally 3 weeks into the season after his start of the season slump concluded, you'd think you would think that it's not possible for him to dwarf his 2022 season any more than he already has. But then more games are played, and then he does. Through 127 games of 2024, after Wednesday night's game, his slash line was 334 average, 465 on base, and 722 slugging. We have been talking about for weeks how absurd it is that Aaron Judge's slugging percentage is not only over 700, now well over 700, and even so much as 50 to 100 points higher than many players' OPSs, which is slugging plus on base for those who don't know. And with 47 home runs to 2022's 49 and 117 RBIs to 2022's 109. The last player who was not linked to steroids to slug this high in a full season was said to be Ted Williams. It's insane. It's insane. Now, this extends even more the later you go into the week. Would you like to hear even more statistics?
Hell yeah!
All right, Stone Cold, I'll give you more statistics. Going into the Rockies series on Friday night, after the Guardians series was wrapped up this past week, in his prior 99 games heading into Friday, here were his stats at the time. Batting average of .379, 44 home runs in 99 games, 44 home runs, 105 RBIs, a .507 on base, which means he's reaching base more than half the time he's at the plate, which is dumb. Slugging percentage of .833, which of course is an OPS, if you do the math there, of 1,340, with 92 runs scored. All of those statistics are far and away first in all of Major League Baseball. In 99 games, guys, every player in the world would sign up for those numbers if those are their numbers for the entire season. 99 games is barely past halfway through a season. And now today, I'm not done yet. After today, I briefly mentioned before what he did today, but why don't you actually take a listen for yourselves from the game today itself, in case you happen to miss it.
High fly ball, deep left center, Doyle back, see ya, boarding flight 50 home runs. Aaron Judge has done it again. Amazing. High fly ball, right field, cave back, he's on the track, he's at the wall. Back to back, he's done it again. A 2-home run day for Judge. Home run number 51, and the Yankees lead.
Holy crap.
Brilliant timing as always, Frank Barone. Audio in courtesy of the Yes Network, of course. So yes, as I said before, home runs number 50 and 51 before on August 25th. There's still over a month left to play, folks. So all those statistics I read you before, they're even better now. So this also, as of achieving number 50 today, this makes him only the 5th player in the history of Major League Baseball to hit 50 home runs in 3 or more years of his career. The only one other than Babe Ruth, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and Alex Rodriguez to do that. So in other words, The only non-steroid user other than Babe Ruth to accomplish this. And Babe Ruth played about 100 years ago, obviously. So, guys, once again, as I've said more times than I can even care to count, take it all in. I don't care if you're not a Yankee fan. I don't care if you despise the Yankees. I don't care. If you give half a damn about the game, and I can prove that I have before, because when other players on other teams, regardless of how I feel about them or their team, have accomplished things that are once in a lifetime, I take it in and I appreciate the hell out of it because of my general love for the sport overall. So I'm asking you to do the same. If you are not a part of the Yankee fan base and potentially even despise the Yankees, maybe even Aaron Judge himself, which I don't even know how it's possible because of how the man carries himself on and off the field. But regardless, I ask you humbly to take it all in. Because especially when it comes to being a clean baseball player, you're seeing something that hasn't happened in about 100 years. Really take that in for a second. Absorb that piece of information that I just gave you. We're seeing things we may never see from someone, especially someone who plays the game the right way, ever again. At least not in our lifetimes. You've really just got to appreciate the hell out of what we're seeing. It's history, guys. And like we said, we are also on more, even more, the precipice of even more history. With his second chase, I can't believe I'm even saying this, and it's reality. The second chase for 60 home runs. And he would be the first to ever do that. 60 or more home runs, twice or more in their career, other than Sammy Sosa, who again took steroids. He is the clean home run king in the single season, and he's potentially about to be the only clean player in Major League history to hit 60 or more home runs at least twice in their whole career. So again, take it all in. We've got over a month left to play. And the man is only 11 more home runs away from tying his own record.
Give me a hell yeah!
Damn straight. And guess what? Being humble all the while, like he always is. Hence me saying before, I don't even understand how you could possibly dislike this man on a personal level even, because every time it's even brought up, he always treats it with such grace. The guy didn't even want to come out for a curtain call today. We're never going to see this again, guys, at least in our lifetimes. I'm convinced of that. Unless the man just chooses to do it himself once again in future seasons. That's really the only way, if you ask me. So just really appreciate every second of it. Because you're probably not going to see anything like this again. I'll be shocked if we do. Shocked. There's things we either haven't seen from a player who plays the game the right way in about 100 years or ever. It's usually one or the other. Not to completely discount those other guys, because obviously they still had their talent, but they took steroids. It's a very hot topic, discussion for another day, I know. But when it comes to that, it is worth at least bringing up. So, 50 and 51, guys. There's still 31 games left to play in the season. The Yankees have played 131 games as of completion today against the Rockies. They have 31 games remaining as they now get ready to head over to Washington to play a 3-game set there starting tomorrow, Monday through Wednesday. And we'll see if it continues there. Because at this point, with only 11 more home runs necessary to tie his own record of 62, set a couple of years ago in 22, of course. In 31 games, he only has to average a tad bit more than a home run every 3 games. Which for Aaron Judge, who especially is someone whose home runs come in spurts, really shouldn't be that tall of a task, barring catastrophe, of course. But it's insane, guys. I don't really have any words remaining other than the ones that I can just give you, like relaying statistics and just repeating a lot of the same word salad that we all repeat because we're all at a loss for words at this point over him. Because, again, it's just things that we haven't really seen before. And if we have, it's only by like a couple of other guys at the most, if any. So you really do truly run out of things to say about it at some point. It's just truly remarkable. I don't know. I'm trying to think of words. I'm out of words. I'm out of them. We've said them all throughout this man's career. He hit 50 home runs in his rookie year. He hit 50 plus, I should say. 50 plus in 22, and he hit 62. And now he's over 50 with over a month left to play this year. Oh, my gosh. I don't know, guys. At a loss. And on top of him having hit his 51st today, the 51st also happened to be a part of him, Soto, and Stanton having gone back to back to back, which was the 6th time that Soto and Judge alone specifically have gone back to back this year. 6 times that's happened. It's the first time the Yankees have gone back to back to back since 2020, the messed up season of COVID. I mean, even freaking Glaber hit a home run for the first time in over a month today. I mean, that's when you know. Oh my gosh, and I'll give my props to him, I guess, when it comes to him being a little bit better of late being in the leadoff spot. We've said how important it is for the Yankees to find their leadoff hitters because they've struggled in that arena, that and the cleanup spot this year, but things seem to be much better for months now thanks to Austin Wells and even Stanton of late, who has started to get on a better track of things in the last couple of days once again, because we know he happens in spurts as well when it comes to his hot streaks. But that was unbelievable to see today. Soto just hit one almost into the bleachers off the back wall in the Yankee bullpen. Judge hit a first rower right next to the Yankee bullpen in right center field. And Stanton just hit an absolute freaking rope right into Monument Park. I mean, this guy just the other day with the home run he hit, he like leaned out forward, didn't even finish his backswing, and just threw his arms out, flicks the wrists. The man's strength is... You can feel however you want about Stanton, but my God, you cannot deny the freakish strength. Oh my gosh. What a crazy day. 10 runs, Judge homering twice, the back-to-back-to-back, the offensive explosion after yesterday's embarrassment. It's been an eventful week. Really, really eventful. Ultimately, though, having come out of it now, at the end of all of it, probably would have been a bit of a different statement if this were happening after Tuesday night's game against the Guardians, given what happened last Sunday and on Tuesday night. But now, having been at the end of the week, at this point, now in the 7 o'clock hour on Sunday night of the 25th of August, it's inevitably a bit of a lighter tone because the Yankees are now back to winning series after disgracefully losing one to the Tigers last weekend. Now they're back to winning series. 2 series W's in a row, with the one against Cleveland earlier in the week, despite Tuesday night. And now against Colorado, which a sweep would have been quite nice. Some may even say expected, but it's whatever. I'll always take a series win. But yeah, after really bad losses last Sunday to lose the series to Detroit and Pennsylvania for the Little League Classic game, and then getting your teeth absolutely kicked in extras on Tuesday against Cleveland after failing to score in huge spots multiple times in a row, now they've managed to, after all of that, win 4 of their last 5, which is nice. Because we know that the team is constantly up and down, losing games that they shouldn't, maybe even winning some games that they shouldn't. I mean, it happens plenty of times, depending on the day. I mean, we spoke about it last week. That was really the main topic of the show, never knowing which Yankee team you're going to get each day. But just keep winning series. That's the goal. Keep winning series. Don't play down to bad teams because you need to win those games too, especially amidst a first-place race in the division. And keep your foot on the gas, which may or may not be, in case you haven't already noticed, the episode title for today. But that's the key. Keep your foot on the gas and don't play down to bad teams because we've seen the Yankees do this a few times. They did it a bit yesterday despite it really being Will Warren's fault, yesterday's loss being. But You got to keep your foot on the gas because you got to beat the bad teams too. They're a big part of your schedule, even if you are a contender, and the wins against them matter, especially, as I said, if you are in a first-place race for the division or even just trying to grab any sort of playoff spot, whether it be the top of the division or a wild card, doesn't matter. The bad teams are going to be in your way. They're probably going to want to spoil your chances if they have absolutely nothing to play for. We've heard of them doing that in the past, and we've seen it with our own eyes. So you can't let up against them. You got to get the job done. We've had this discussion 1,000 times about playing down to bad teams. But again, you don't know what you're going to get. That's why you got to keep your foot on the gas if you're the Yankees. The inconsistency will bite you when it actually matters in the playoffs. So try to shake that off a little bit. I know it's the regular season. It's not the end of the world. And you're in a really good place right now. Because if you're the Yankees, the only team in all of baseball right now that is superior to you record-wise is the Dodgers. They're only a game better. Otherwise, it's the Yankees, the best team in the American League, even if the Orioles happen to win tonight. They'll still be a half a game behind. That could change tomorrow because they're idle and the Yankees play tomorrow, and that'll take care of that half a game discrepancy. But regardless, as far as wrapping up gameplay today, even the Dodgers wrapped up play. They beat the Rays again. Only the Dodgers are better by a game, one little game in all of Major League Baseball. So yes, despite your inconsistency, if you're the Yankees, you still find yourself in a good spot. That's the good thing. But that could rattle you in the playoffs. So you just want to keep your foot on the gas here and not mess around. Go for the kill. Go for first place. Go for that bye to start the playoffs. Just finish the best. Go for the kill. Don't be content with settling for a wild card. Don't be content with settling for the minimum in contrast to your true talent and expectations. Go for the kill. That's what you got to do if you're the Yankees. They have not done that in certain seasons in the recent past. They gotta do it now. Especially if it means that you inexcusably and disgracefully lose Juan Soto after said season is over. So get it done now. Keep your foot on the gas. Remind people who you are and how good you could be if you're the Yankees, because it is complicated with them. You have games like last Sunday, where, as we spoke about while I was live reacting, you couldn't score to save your life. You only did score on a wild pitch, and then on a DJ RBI single in extra innings with a ghost runner. But otherwise, you have Clay blowing the game once again for his 10th blown save, and then Leiter losing it in the 10th inning later on after the Yankees had retaken the lead in the top of the 10th. And yeah, I know, Jason Dominguez, who was up for that one game as the 27th man because it's a special event game, and every team gets a 27th man with that, whether it be an international series, a game like this, regardless. He was up as the 27th man. We know this. I know that he had weirdly double-clutched or hesitated on his throw home to try to get the winning run out at the plate, but honestly, we all know that that's not the main reason they lost that game last Sunday. The reason they lost that game was because it was ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, and the game was somewhere other than a Major League ballpark, similarly to the Field of Dreams game, which is a lethal combination. No, I'm kidding. It's because, well, kind of kidding. But the real reasons were that the offense did nothing, as it had for most of the week leading up to that game, as we had spoken about, and Clay Holmes can't close a game. Leiter Jr. was certainly no treat in the 10th inning either, as he has also unfortunately not been for a couple of weeks now, which is not great because other than De Los Santos, he was the only other bullpen acquisition. But either way, those were the main reasons, guys. Let's keep some perspective. But either way, you have that game last week, and then you have a game like today. Just one Sunday later. Completely different team. Both against bad teams. One far different than the other, though. So, it can go either way. That's the point. Weird-ass team sometimes. But just keep pushing through. Push straight through to the end. Keep the foot on the gas. Whether your name be Aaron Judge, whether your name be Juan Soto, whether your name be Alex Verdugo or Gleyber Torres or Anthony Volpe, no matter what your name is, if you're on the Yankees, just keep your foot on the gas. I cannot say it enough. Just follow suit with your captain. Just follow him. They always say the Yankees go where Judge goes anyway. So if that's the case, then you guys should be skyrocketing right now because the man is playing just about better than almost anybody else in the history of the game. Guys, even in his last 102, I know I can't stop with the glazing, but I mean, maybe he shouldn't be one of the greatest hitters who ever lived, and I wouldn't have to. But last 102 games even, I know just the prior 99, heading towards the end of the Guardians series I already gave before, but 377 average, 47 home runs, 109 RBIs, 506 on base, 844 slugging, 95 runs scored, 72 extra base hits, all first in Major League Baseball by a long shot. Just follow your captain, guys. If you go where he goes, then you try putting up some video game numbers as well, because that's what this is at this point. The numbers ever since his first 3 or so week slump to start the season, just never seen anything like it. And we may never again. So take it all in, mimic him if you're on his team, and let's just take this team to heights that we have not seen since the very team that we saw on the field yesterday amidst Old Timers Day. That's right, Old Timers Day was yesterday on a Saturday, and in the month of August. I know they've changed that in recent history. It used to be earlier on in the summer than right now. But nonetheless, they still had Old Timers Day yesterday, primarily celebrating the 09 team, which is why I bring that up, because that's the last time the team reached the promised land, of course. But you can very well do it once again this year if you're the Yankees, because you have the talent to do so. Just a matter of how you end up actually following through with it. But you very well can. And if you had conversations, if you're on the Yankees now with anybody from the 09 team and took anything from them, then just use what they told you and just go for it. We'll be talking more about Old Timers Day later on in the show, though. The social media segment may or may not have to do with it. Little spoiler alert there for you. And yes, we do have a social media segment for this week. The segment has returned. I did not have one last week. I was caught lacking a little bit, but it has returned this week. And we'll talk more about Old Timers Day later on. But when talking about this team, guys, yeah, obviously a crazy week. Some things have changed with certain guys. Some things have not, for better or for worse. One thing that has changed in the last few days, though, is that the Yankees actually managed to finish off the series against Cleveland after Tuesday's travesty very well. And despite yesterday being also quite embarrassing, primarily because Will Warren had another terrible start, you still managed to finish off the series in a very special way and still take the series, which, as I said before, is the most important part. The guys who contributed to all of this, all the players on the team belonging to different factions of the team, the starting rotation, the bullpen, the lineup, all of them individually, well, we'll start with the pitching because, in my opinion, they are primarily the story, even though today the pitching was all right, particularly out of Stroman, but otherwise throughout the rest of the week, except for Will Warren yesterday, the pitching was actually very solid. I know after today, a lot of people probably want to talk about the offense, and the fact that throughout most of the week they actually scored a good amount of runs, especially against the Guardians in both games. I mean, 5 runs in the first game despite the travesty at the end of the game, 8 runs on Wednesday, 6 runs on Thursday, and then only 3 runs on Friday, but it was plenty enough to get the job done. Only 2 yesterday and 10 today. So I know, especially after today, a lot of people probably want to talk about the offense, but we should hit on the pitching first. Because other than things falling apart underneath Tim Meza and Michael Tonkin's care in extra innings on Tuesday, and for Will Warren yesterday, the pitching this past week actually saw a big turnaround, if I'm being honest. Particularly in the bullpen, if I have to say. Because Luis Gil was actually looking really rough on Tuesday before also being announced that he sustained an injury, which we'll get to in news later on. But then after that, after only going 3 innings, the bullpen had to eat up 9 innings. And all the way until that 12th inning on Tuesday, the bullpen was throwing up zeros. Same thing on Wednesday. I mean, starting this game, he had Nestor. He had another fantastic start to add, so that's a few in a row now that Nestor is looking really good. 7 shutout innings, and then Meza just finished it off in the last 2 when the Yankees had a big lead. On Thursday, they shut out the Guardians. Garrett Cole looked phenomenal yet again. He did walk 5 guys in 6 innings, so give quite a bit of walks, but only 1 hit. No runs allowed. Only did strike out 2, but still kept them off the scoreboard. The bullpen threw up zeros after that as well. On Friday, no runs allowed. Rodon had himself a nice outing, and then Weaver, Cousins, and Clay Holmes, surprisingly, did walk somebody, so there was a base runner involved. Not surprised there, but Clay did wrap it up for his 27th save, so the bullpen came through again there. Yesterday was ugly, but that was primarily Will Warren's fault. And today, after Stroman left the game, but even after he did, when the game was still close before the offensive explosion, Tommy Kahnle had himself a very nice outing. Cousins nice to follow. Weaver as well, and Meza finished it off, and the lead was really big, having had a 10-3 lead. But it's nice to see the bullpen bounce back, because there's been a lot of doubt with that over the course of the last bunch of weeks. So to see it continue to bounce back a bit even more this past week was very nice. The bullpen's so important. We know that the Yankees have quite a bit of reinforcements on the way, particularly in pitching, all of which have started their rehab assignments, fortunately, as of this past weekend, along with a few others. We'll hit on all of that later on in the Yankees news segment as well, when we continue to hit on injury and roster news for this past week. A lot of that will be included. But it's good to see the bullpen bounce back. The starting rotation was, for the most part, very solid except for Heel and Warren this past week. Because even last Sunday, which that game we don't really have to talk about, we live reacted to all of it until the 9th inning, and then I just said before what happened with it, so I don't really have to go through that and recap later. But Stroman, other than having had a nice relay to the plate, saving him from giving up any runs, last Sunday, he threw a 6-inning shutout. Then obviously you had Heel on Tuesday. But Wednesday, you had Nestor throw a gem. Thursday, you had Cole looking really good. Friday, you had Rodon bouncing back and looking solid once again after his last bad outing. Yesterday, you had Will Warren looking really bad. And then today, Stroman was all right. So the starting rotation as well, a little bit, whether it be okay, really good, or very bad in a couple instances, a little bit inconsistent this past week. But the good starts were really good. And it's from a couple of really important guys, because especially now with Luis Heel having hit the injured list, you need Clark back just that much more. Because you can't rely on Will Warren, that much has been proven, and Luis Heel has gone down now, so you need Clark Schmidt to be back as soon as possible and try his best to build up in the amount of time he has from then until the end of the season. Because then if you have him even being a fraction of what he was before, you have him, Cole, and if Rodon just happens to stay on this good path, that's a solid 3 right there. And if Nestor keeps on choosing to be a good pitcher like he has been of late, which I did not expect, but is definitely a welcome surprise. Don't know if it'll hold up, but it has been much better of late. But that'll be really good. Then for the bullpen, you also have other guys still building up down in the minors, like Efros and Nick Birdie. A lot of guys rehabbing right now on their ways back, like Ian Hamilton and Cody Poteet. Clark Schmidt along with them. Guys with the offense like John Birdie and Anthony Rizzo, also amidst their rehabbing officially as of this past weekend. So reinforcements for every faction, whether you think they mean a lot or not, are on their way. So again, just keeping your foot on the gas while those happen and continue to get closer and closer is very important. But the starting rotation, it's in a bit of a rough place right now, even if you do have your mix of good starts in the last bunch of days. Still in a bit of a rough place, especially with Luis Heel looking like he had just about hit his limit as of the last couple of starts once again as we get ready to head into September. It was only a matter of time until that happened. It sucks to see happen, but especially amidst officially hitting the injured list finally, I'm not surprised by that. Hopefully he can still manage to find his way back and pitch some important innings, whether it be in the rotation once again or in the bullpen for the rest of the way out. We'll just have to wait and see. And you get Clark Schmidt back. See where this rotation is at. It could be good if everybody just keeps on the straight and narrow. Just keep your head up and keep pushing on. As far as the offense, they mostly had themselves a good week. Of course, other than in games like yesterday, where we saw a similar theme yesterday to many games that we've seen in the last 2 months or so, where the starting pitchers will just bury them early. That's what Will Warren did to them yesterday, and it just completely took them out of things, hence only scoring 2 runs. But other than that, it was not a bad week offensively at all. They did frustrate the hell out of you on Tuesday, blowing tons of scoring chances. But overall, not a terrible week offensively. Definitely better than the prior week, because we were just talking about last Sunday against the Tigers when they weren't scoring at all, how in the prior 7 to 8 days leading up to last Sunday, the offense was really nowhere to be found. They had went through a little slump again, and Soto and Judge were responsible for the vast majority of their runs. That may still have been a little bit of the case this past week, but it was still better this past week overall. Better than the prior week. Again, for utility purposes, you have someone like John Birdie rehabbing right now. For first base, where this, honestly, especially with offense, the first base situation really can't get much worse than it is right now. So I've really reached a level, as I had said last week, and maybe even a week prior to that as well. I had said that at this point, with how it is at first base, playing either Ben Rice over there, who unfortunately has both not gotten enough playing time, but also even when he does get playing time, he's not taking advantage of it. He just does not hit anymore. You have that over there, plus DJ. He gets a couple hits here and there, but it's not sustainable. And he has had his hiccups there at first base in the last few days, defensively as well. So that's the first base situation. At this point, at least as far as I'm concerned, you may not agree with it, but at this point, I'm willing to see that in the last stretch here of the final year before his option can be activated for potentially one more year, which I don't think makes sense. But at this point, I'm just about ready here in the home stretch of things when he's all set to go to be called back up from his rehab assignment. I'm set to see if, for one more time, Anthony Rizzo has anything left. Because the alternatives are not much better. Even Rizzo at his worst, and it was bad. I mean, there are no other overwhelmingly better options at first base right now. I know one could maybe argue, and I would listen to it, I guess, but could maybe argue, especially as Rizzo continues to be rehabbing, but could maybe argue for him getting more playing time and more consistency to try to figure it out and develop. I understand, but when he has gotten those moments, it has not worked. And what's your better alternative, DJ? I mean, for one more month, at the very end here, give Rizzo one last shot. I doubt that option is going to be exercised after this year is over, nor should it be. Regardless of what Rizzo has meant to the Yankees in the last few years, I don't want to downplay that. It's been awesome to have him for the vast majority of the time, especially in the second half of 21 and throughout 22, and in the first couple of months of 23, so there's a huge chunk of time where Rizzo was just a gift. But it's undeniably been a real struggle with Rizzo since the collision with Tatis last year, resulting in his concussion, and now his problems that have kept him out for months this year with his arm. So, but for this last month, see what he's got at this point. So you got them rehabbing and coming back. You got rosters expanding next week, so as I've been saying for weeks now, expect Dominguez to be called back up once again by the time that next Sunday arrives and we yap once again. So, my overall point with all of that, saying that, is that there are going to be potential changes with this lineup just within the next couple of weeks once again to potentially make them even better. We'll have to see, but for now, you got Gleyber, as I said before. We'll start with him since he's been leading off the last bunch of days. While I'm still not huge on him, obviously, at all, I still don't think that what he's doing is sustainable. And before today's nice day, he was still just doing all right. He was doing fine. Not amazing, but not horrible either. He still has those moments like at the beginning of today's game. He just botched making a competent throw to first to turn a routine double play, so he's still doing that stupid crap. That's what makes Gleyber so frustrating. I don't know why I have to keep on explaining myself. There are people out there saying, oh, if you're as hard on Gleyber as you might be, it's definitely directed at people like me, because I'm very hard on Gleyber, but that's for a reason. Then they say, oh, you better glorify him that much too. Well, we've seen for years what Gleyber has turned out to be, so we don't have to do anything. It's just a matter of watching him play. But the reason we are as hard on him as we are, I'm annoyed that I have to keep on explaining this to people as if they don't understand. It's really not that hard to get. The reason why I'm hard on certain guys the way I am is the same reason I'm hard on Anthony Volpe. Only he has a bit more of a reason to be given more chances because he has not been in the league for nearly as long as Gleyber has. So there's even less of an excuse for Gleyber, which is why I'm even harder on him than I already am on Anthony Volpe. The reason why you're hard on these guys is because, and it could be faulted to their scouting a little bit before they came up, but these guys had a lot of hype and expectation around them, and even have shown in their careers, even more so with Gleyber, a lot of flashes in many different occasions in many different seasons where there was just so much potential and talent there. And the only thing standing in their way is themselves. That's it. Because of Gleyber's concentration, awareness, and overall skill, if he just locked the hell in with all of those, he had the potential to be something. Especially as second basemen are concerned. Second basemen typically aren't the absolute strongest of all of the positions on the field as far as offense. But Gleyber could have gone into a category all on his own. But he ruined that. Even if he's doing good of late, on an overall level, especially in a contract year, it has been a huge failure. There's still a month to correct that in the most important time of the year, because they are amidst a race for first place in a playoff race right now, and that's really what matters in a regular season. But so far, it's been brutal, and I still don't think it's going to hold up, unfortunately. But you're hard on these guys because of what was expected, and the many instances where you actually saw proof of what was expected, therefore proving that it very well could be so. But it's not. Because of lack of adjustments, lack of awareness, lack of effort, lack of concentration, or in-game focus overall, blatantly bad decision-making in-game, regardless of the reason you want to come up with, of the millions of reasons why players could possibly slump. Of all the millions of reasons, regardless of what it is, we've seen that with Gleyber, especially, but with also players like Volpe. That's why you're hard on them. You know the potential's there, but yet they keep playing like boneheads. And it's frustrating, okay? It's frustrating. Problem with Gleyber is it's been happening so long, for years now, except for 2023. It's been happening for a long time. Lots of evidence to support it, so that's why it's tough to believe that this will be sustainable. Would it be huge for the Yankees if he did play up to his potential? Especially in a time like this? Of course it would. They need him. But what we've seen, do you believe that it's possible for that to be sustainable? And for him to keep the dumbness on the field, on the bases, at the plate to a minimum? On a regular basis for the rest of the way out? Because of what we've seen, it's doubtful. Because as I've said many times, this isn't a small sample size for Gleyber. We're in year 7 of his career. He's not a rookie anymore. Far from it. And no, when I say dumb, I'm not calling Gleyber himself as a person dumb. I'm not 5 and I don't get personal. I also don't know him on a personal level. What I'm saying is certain habits that he has on the field are dumb. Like today, he'll make a nice play, but then today, it'll be as routine a play as it gets. He'll just screw up a throw. Or he'll screw up on the bases in something that's just blatantly routine. I don't even know how it happens. I don't. We're all humans. We all make mistakes. I understand that. But sometimes it is so blatant with him that sometimes I ask myself how that's even possible. One of the weirdest and most frustrating baseball players I have ever watched is Gleyber Torres. Easily. It's not even close. And because of my unfortunate lack of belief in him, do I still want him off the team? Yeah, I do. But as long as they're going to keep playing him, well, I hope he continues on the path that he's been on in the leadoff spot so far. I do have my desired lineup for when Jason Dominguez is hopefully called back up next week, especially because he's been doing well in AAA once again since he was sent right back down after Sunday. But I do have my ideal lineup once he returns, and it does not include Gleyber. Some people may call me foolish for not playing the hot hand. Fine, feel free to call me foolish if you want. But regardless of my personal feelings on him as a player, overall, I do have to remain fair and say that of late, he has looked a bit better, especially today. Today's game definitely helped push his numbers to be even better, so good for him. Listen, like I always say about everybody, his success is the Yankees' success. So with him, you just continue to hope to see these stupid mistakes kept to an absolute minimum and go from there. Because those things at the end of the day are still why I find it basically impossible to believe in him overall. That's really the biggest thing with Gleyber Torres, and that's why you're hard on him, because you see the flashes and you just wonder like why this guy just doesn't take the reins and be the player that he probably deep down knows he can be, but has seldom unlocked, at least consistently throughout the vast majority of the course of a regular season, since last year and 2019, for the most part, and 2018 as well. 2018, 2019, and 2023 were really the main seasons where it was sustained, consistent success throughout the duration of the vast majority of a season. And you know that could be there because you've seen it in the past, but why he doesn't do it, that's what gets people frustrated. I hope that makes it clearer to the people out there who don't understand it. If you still don't get that, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. Anyways, moving on with the lineup. Don't want to keep wasting time here. Juan Soto, they just, what can I tell you? The guy has 9 home runs in his last 13 games. He's going absolutely crazy. That home run he hit today, when he went back to back to back with Judge and Stanton, that was his 37th home run of the year. He now finds himself at 2 more home runs than any other season's single season home run total for him in his entire career. The most he had hit in a single season prior to this in his entire career was last year in 2023 with San Diego when he hit 35. Otherwise, he also hit 34 in 2019 with the Nationals. He otherwise has never even hit 30 home runs throughout the rest of his career any other year. He's come close by hitting 29, 27, but never 30 plus other than those 2 years. And now he's looking like he's actually going to well surpass 40 come the end of 2024 in this already remarkable contract year where he is going to get boatloads of money the way that he deserves. But yeah, the home runs have been going absolutely insane with him of late. He's still staying hot, average at 299, still floating around 300, OPS still well over 1,000, 37 home runs, 95 RBIs, closing in on 100 ribbies himself, compared to Judge's over 120. And now Soto's nearing 100. So, what can I say, guys? Just really good stuff between those two. It's the Judge and Soto show. The captain and his assistant, as I've referred to both of them as in the recent past. Speaking of the captain, yeah, on top of what I already told you before, in case you need any more. His total numbers now, 333 average, 51 home runs, 122 RBIs, OPS over 1,200 now, folks. Yeah. Stanton, been on more of a tear of late. He's been hitting more home runs recently, up to 23 now. He's probably going to get to 30 plus by the time the end of the year. I mean, if he only didn't get hurt with yet another lower body injury, he could have fulfilled my preseason prediction for him once again, as he did a couple of years ago. But very frustrating with him and the injuries. But still been pretty solid of late. In his last 7 games, he's batting .292, and he's homered 3 times. He's homered 5 times in his last 15. So, the home runs are there. We just got to keep on seeing him rack up the at-bats, get more looks, and we all know how streaky Stanton can be, but he's just got to stay the course, man. You know he's going to hit those homers. And if he keeps on doing that, speaking of Judge, it's a big topic of discussion now when pitchers are going to stop pitching to him almost altogether once again, like you saw a lot of at the end of 2022. And while I do agree with Aaron Boone, I know, believe it or not, that he says it'll be on a team-to-team, case-to-case basis, I do believe that that will be what it is. Because you saw the Rockies giving him some more pitches to hit this weekend than a lot of teams recently. A lot of other teams. But it's also going to depend on the lineup and who's hitting in front of or behind Judge and how well they're hitting. He's always going to have that frontal protection with Soto. But behind him has been another discussion. You had Austin Wells there in the cleanup spot that was really solidifying behind Judge for a while, for the first time in forever. So that was awesome to see, and perhaps encouraged other teams to pitch to him more. And now if you have Stanton ripping the home runs out of the park the way he has been again of late, then that's more protection behind Aaron Judge, and it'll encourage teams to pitch to him even more. So that's a big part of it too. So the importance of Stanton staying hot, and the importance of continuing to include Wells in there too, that is a big part of it as well. Just keep on solidifying the lineup behind Aaron Judge, and Stanton can keep doing that, and that's awesome. Jazz, he was just recently reactivated from his 10-day stint. He was reactivated right after it was over. As I'd said last week, he likely would be based on the reports from last week. And he's been back for a couple of days. He's 2 for his last 11, I believe, since his return. But, you know, he was out for about a week and a half, so it's time to readjust. But Overall as a Yankee, his overall numbers are still really good, even with that 2 for 11. We'll see what happens with him going forward. I expect him to bounce back nicely this week. Volpe, he's unfortunately continuing to disappoint me. He is just, again, for a few weeks now, ever since he was hot right after the All-Star break for a few weeks, now he's just continued to just keep playing badly. I mean, he's 9 for his last 56. 6 for his last 25. That's a 240 average. I don't know, man. It's been weeks since, once again, he's hit a home run. And I'm not solely focusing on that because I know he's not a power guy, first and foremost. I'm aware of that. But still, just like the pop isn't really there all that much. I mean, he's hit some doubles. That's helped boost the slugging a little bit this past week, I guess. But I don't know, man. It's just he's still not being as good as he can be. He's still not. And again, that frustration sets in once again. Similarly to Gleyber, less so because he's younger and has had less time in the major leagues. But again, you know what these guys can be, and you see the swing decisions, and you see even sometimes them taking into the field. Volpe does that less so than Gleyber does, for instance, but seeing it taken into the field even sometimes, and not taking your walks, making bad swing decisions. And Volpe has seen throughout this entire season that the two-handed follow-through has seen him have some more success, and the one-hand follow-through often doesn't, yet you'll see him doing that one-hand follow-through sometimes. I don't know. I called him Tony Two-Hands for a reason. You've seen that success come in a great deal of the time when he does that two-hand follow-through. I know I'm not just talking out of my ass here. You've probably seen it too. You might think it doesn't make much of a difference, but clearly it does. So, just really hoping Volpe just gets his act together at the plate as well, because we see how much better a team the Yankees are when Volpe is doing what he's supposed to do at the plate. It makes a world's difference. It really does. Trevino, I'm still just pissed off that he continues to be getting more playing time than Wells. I mean, the Yankees told us, and again, this is why I don't really believe them with too much of what they say, but they've constantly continued to say that Wells was going to be seeing more playing time, and he was still going to be seeing plenty of playing time. I know the Yankees have been seeing a great deal of left-handed pitchers of late, but Wells has still made his fair share of solid contact off of left-handed pitchers every now and again, so the Yankees really can't die on that hill as much as they were able to earlier in the year when they were giving him extremely inconsistent playing time. But they've got to stop with that inconsistent playing time even now. I mean, Trevino has seen more starts this past week once again. I don't care who's pitching. If there are 7 games in a week, I want Wells getting at least 4 of them. And I know that at the end of the day, what me or any other fans really want means squat, because we're not the ones making the decisions at the end of the day. But it's still very frustrating, after being told that Wells is still going to be getting most of the looks, that Trevino has been getting as many as he still has been. Because Trevino still has not been hitting. The defense is okay, but the throwing down to second is still on the weaker side. Maybe a bit better than prior to his injury, yeah, but still on the weaker side. And even this weekend against the Rockies, Trevino got 2 out of the 3 starts. Wells got 2 out of 3 against the Guardians, and even in the one that he didn't, he came in a pinch hit later on in the game in the extra innings game on Tuesday. But Trevino even got the start right after the Detroit game, where he also got the start. So since last Sunday, if you're including that game, in the last bunch of games, Trevino's seen more starts to games. I mean, Wells has come in to pick up the slack later in games at times, so he has still gotten some time, some days that Trevino started, but when it comes to specific starts, you've seen Trevino in more starts this past week than Wells. Like, why? You can't allow Wells to fall out of routine after what he has done for months. He proved himself. Reward him. I mean, I just don't get it. I get that Trevino should still get playing time, and a lot of catching tandems do split time now. It's just the way the game is nowadays, especially a night game and then a day game or maybe a doubleheader. I totally get that. But in general, Wells should be getting more playing time. So when it comes to the catchers, I just ask the Yankees humbly, please let's get back on track with Austin Wells. I don't even care that tomorrow the Yankees are facing another left-handed pitcher. Put Wells out there. So that's my feedback on the catching tandem. Other than that, with the remainder of the Yankee lineup, like today, for instance, Verdugo, I mean, he's been doing a little bit better of late. I mean, just the last couple of days. But before that, at one point, he was 0 for 21. And he hit his first home run yesterday since, like, the beginning of July. He has not had a home run, or he had not had a home run in over a month and a half. Like, just the power just disappeared that we were seeing a lot of throughout the vast majority of the first half. He has not necessarily ever been a power hitter, but he's shown flashes of pop throughout his career. He's completely disappeared for a couple of months, like most of his gameplay has, of course, at the plate. And yeah, he hit that home run yesterday, and then now today he went 2 for 4, one of them being a blue pit. So yeah, just better the last couple of days, but there's still no doubt that Verdugo should have his ass right on the bench the second that Dominguez is brought back up. There's just no discussion that even has to be had here. So I don't even want to hear from anybody as far as that's concerned. I mean, the guy's batting well into the 100s in his last multiple weeks of gameplay. He's not it anymore. He's not. And DJ/Rice getting first base. Definitely DJ getting more reps over there. DJ gets his couple of hits every now and again, but we know what he is offensively now, unfortunately. They're getting by the best way they can with first base until they can maybe give Rizzo just one last shot here in the final stretch. That's basically the deal. Waldo, I wish Waldo would get more playing time again, but obviously that's going to be even less, especially now that Jazz is back, so less opportunities for third base, less opportunities for second, in the event that Gleyber Torres still decides to play decently like he has been the last few days. But we'll see. So that's the overall evaluation of the team, I guess, and just overall thoughts on a general basis from this past week. I just looked over at the Astros and Orioles game. The Astros were winning 3-0, and now the Orioles tied it at 3. So similarly to yesterday, the Astros take a lead, and then they blow it. That's just great. And the Orioles literally just retied it, I think. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, Ramon Urias just tied the game with a 3-run shot. Unbelievable. Not surprised, though, because the Astros have Kikuchi going tonight, and except if it's against the Yankees for the most part, Kikuchi's pretty bad. Pretty mid-pitcher, if I do say so myself. So there's that. Hopefully the Astros can't believe I'm saying that, but regain the lead and hopefully bring this one home so the Yankees can game again on the Orioles. We love that. That's the overall thoughts on the team. How about the specific details of some of the games from this past week, guys? What say you we jump into the Yapping Yankees time machine and recap this past week, huh? Yapping Yankees time machine back to Tuesday. Let's go. Tuesday. We already spoke about last Sunday, so we won't rehash that again about how Clay Holmes and Mark Leiter Jr. added a few extra grays to our hair. But so did Tuesday, unfortunately. Because as I had mentioned before, Luis Gil got the start, and once again, he was just, unfortunately, all over the place. Just 3 innings, 3 hits, 3 runs, and he walked 6 guys and 3 strikeouts. So lots of threes, but the 6 walks just go to show he was all over the place, guys. It was just an ugly outing. Fortunately, all it ended up being was 3 runs. 1 in the second, 1 in the third, and 1 in the fourth, but... And by the way, that 1 in the fourth allowed by Tim Hill, but the base runner was Hill's responsibility to start the inning. But in any event, this start followed a trend from Hill that we have seen for a while now. He just unfortunately has lost his control and command more and more the more that he pitches. He's around 125 innings on his arm now at this point in the season in late August. And obviously, coming off of Tommy John, not having pitched much at all in the last couple of years. And for the vast majority of the year, he has been phenomenal. But eventually, we all knew that signs of fatigue would probably set in at some point, and they very much have. It's not surprising. It's very unfortunate, but it's not surprising. And the lack of command is just overwhelming. He ended up signaling to the Yankees training staff that something was wrong, and he ended up coming out of the game with an injury that would later be revealed as a lower back strain. Boone said it was minor. I'll be rehashing this in Yankees news as well, so maybe he won't be out for long. Maybe it's just calling it this so that they give his arm some rest. I don't really know. Could very well be that, but maybe if he does have a bit of an injury on a minor side. Maybe it's not at the worst of times. I don't mean to say, like, good thing he's hurt. I would never say that. You never want to see anybody get hurt. But maybe this is the optimal time for his arm to get some rest. I don't know. And then we'll have to see how they pick things up with him. They want to keep him active with live bullpen sessions and whatnot. But when he comes back, we'll see if they do maybe throw him out in that bullpen to lessen the innings, or if they want to maybe, in fact, ride him out for the rest of the season in the starting rotation. We're going to have to see. But nonetheless, not a good outing for Heel. Once again, it didn't end well with it, resulting in an apparent injury. But like I said before, the bullpen had it on lockdown all the way until the 12th inning, throwing up 0 after 0 after 0. The Yankee offense had gotten them started, at least to start things off, with Judge and Soto, each hitting solo shots in the bottom of the first for Soto's 35th and Judge's 45th. So after Sunday's game, Judge came into this game, came in with 44 home runs, and we talked today he has 51. So in 6 games, he has homered 7 times. It's just... But then after Heel, the Guardians had fought their way back and grabbed a 3-2 lead by the time Heel was done, and then Volpe tied the game on an RBI double in the bottom of the 4th, and like I said, with the bullpen throwing up zeros and the Guardians doing the same, it stayed that way all the way until the 12th, when Meza and Tonkin came in, starting with Meza, and it was just bad. And it's unfortunate because before that, in the 10th and 11th innings, Jake Cousins came in and just put on a clinic. He was fantastic, but ultimately, something was going to give, and it gave with Meza and Tonkin combined. It was not pretty. Ultimately, by the time it was said and done, after the top of the 12th was done, it was 9-3. And then in the bottom of the 5th, the Yankees just tacked on a couple more with an Aaron Judge 2-run double, but the game was already lost. So the final score is 9-5. Embarrassing there in the 12th inning. Not the way you want to lose a game, with just piling on like that at the end. But they bounced back in the rest of the series very nicely and maintained having Cleveland's number, grabbing another series victory against them, starting with Wednesday's game. Nestor getting the start, as I mentioned before. He went 7 shutout innings, not walking anybody, only allowing 3 hits and striking out 4. ERA down to exactly 4 with how high it was before. It goes to show you that as of his last few starts, he has been much, much better. Last couple of starts, really solid. This is his 2nd consecutive start throwing 7 shutout frames. And he'd fulfilled my wish that I said last week, because after he did it against the White Sox, I had said, well, now it's time to do it against a respectable team, and the Guardians are definitely that. And he did it against the Guardians, too. So, you know what? Kudos to Nestor, and I hope he just continues to keep it up, because in a time where Heel is dealing with some stuff and not able to pitch and having lost his control and command for a while there, and with Will Warren being the way he is, Nestor being good is a very nice boost to the rotation, so just keep it up, dude. It really has not been this way for the vast majority of the season with Nestor, unfortunately. Many of his starts just were not up to par. A lot of them just didn't go deep into games or allowed too many runs, regardless of the reason. But let's just hope it stays on this trend. That would be awesome. This is definitely some of the best pitching we've seen from him collectively throughout the year in just a couple of starts. But he looked phenomenal, and the offense just absolutely exploded, and every single run was because of Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. So you want to talk about last week having seen that trend at times quite a bit. Well, the start of this week also saw that. So in these 2 games against the Guardians, Volpe, his RBI double to tie the game at 3 on Tuesday, was the only time that someone other than Judge or Soto drove in a run for the Yankees. So that's what I say. For the most part, it really is the Judge and Soto show. It really is. The captain and his assistant. I mean it when I say that. So, but hey, listen, you get your runs however you can. Soto started it off with a 2-run shot, his 36th of the year. Judge followed that up in the bottom of the 3rd with his 46th of the year, another 2-run shot. And then Soto cleared the bases with a 3-run double in the bottom of the 4th. And Judge hit his 47th homer, a solo shot in the bottom of the 7th to make it 8-0 for the 8-1 final, resulting in Thursday being the rubber game matchup and the Yankees making the most of this day as well, putting up a 6th spot to support their ace, who threw 6 shutout innings of his own. 6 shutout innings of 1 hit, 5 walk. Yeah, not great, but 6 shutout innings of baseball nonetheless for the ace as he continues to get on a better track more and more as the days go along and as the starts pass for his 5th win of the season as well. The offense also gave him plenty of support as the game went on and on. Judge started things off in the bottom of the 4th with another solo shot, his 48th homer of the year. In the bottom of the 5th, Wells drove in a sacrifice fly to make it 2-0, followed by a Stanton 3-run bomb. This is the one he reached out for. That was super impressive. His 21st of the year. Made it 5-0, and Cole had himself some real nice run support at this point to go out there and pitch one more shutout inning. And then Ben Rice added on one more with a sac fly in the bottom of the 8th. Final score 6-0. Yankees take a series against another team that's right along there with them, with having amongst the best records in the entire league. So that's a big deal. You can say the Yankees do it often against Cleveland, but Cleveland, like it or not, is a respectable team this year. The Yankees continue to have their number and grab another series from them. They would then welcome the Rockies to town, which is a series that just wrapped up this weekend, obviously. Rodon got the start to lead off this series, and he looked real good once again. 6 innings of shutout baseball as well, like the ace before him. 4 hits, only 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, much better control and command. Really looked solid in this game. So another step in the right direction, even if it is the Rockies, for Rodon, earning his 14th win of the season in the process of that. And the Yankees scoring 3 runs off the bats of Giancarlo Stanton and Gleyber Torres reaching on an error, but hey, it drove in a run. And Judge hitting his 49th home run of the season in the bottom of the 6th. So Stanton hitting his 22nd, Judge hitting his 49th. And then a bad error by third baseman Ryan McMahon on the Rockies after Gleyber Torres hit it down to him. That amounted to the 3 runs, and the Yankees grabbed the first game very nicely and comfortably, fortunately, even with Clay Holmes managing to close it out with first 27th save by the score of 3-0. But it really does make you realize, you know that wins and losses don't mean that much to me, for many reasons that I've explained a million times. But Rodon having that many victories, it goes to show you even more so how sad it is that he went through that god-awful stretch that he did there. From that Fenway series all the way through to July 22nd, spanning over a month and a half of just crappiest of the crap pitching, when he finally had his first true respectable start against the Rays on that July 22nd day, where he went 7 innings and only allowed 1 run at the very end of the outing there. That was his first respectable start, real respectable start, since that outing at Fenway Park, all the way back on June 15th. So about a month and a half or so of just the worst kind of pitching. If he didn't go through that stretch, my God. I mean, he had a 2.93 ERA heading into that Fenway outing on June 15th. And about a month's worth of just the most brutal kind of pitching you could imagine. Just way overinflated his numbers. Gave him a few more losses than he had. He had a stellar record leading up to that with a 2.93 ERA. And now his ERA, even with a bunch of respectable starts in his last, let me see here. Ever since that July 22nd game, he had a 6 1/3 and 2-run outing at Fenway once again, so he did well there. And in August so far, his ERA is down to 3.10, and the only rougher outing that he had was the one prior to this one on August 17th at Detroit, when he went 3 1/3 and allowed 4 runs. So if not for that bad stretch, Rodon could easily be a 20-game winner this year, with an ERA maybe in the low 3s, which would definitely more than fulfill my prediction for him. I did predict that he would win over 15 games this year, which I still think he's going to do at this point, with him having earned his 14th victory just this past Friday with over a month left to play. But the ERA is not going to fulfill my prediction. I said 3.15 or less. And hell, it really could have been, if not for that month and a half really bad stretch. It's just such a shame that stretch happened. My God, was it bad. Shades of 2023 Rodon, definitely. But, I mean, other than that, I mean, he's continued to be on a really good track, especially, again, as of late. I just hope that continues, man, because, again, you want to talk about important pieces to the Yankee team. My God, Carlos Rodon. We signed him to be the 1A behind Cole. That's why we signed him. You don't need me to tell you that. So, again, really nice game on Friday, real comfortable. You don't get those too often with this team. And then yesterday, Will Warren started again. I'm sorry, guys. This kid's not ready for prime time. He's just not. This is the fourth start now where he just looks absolutely putrid. 0-2 now with a .968 record. 3 innings of 6 runs, 5 earned. Because the defense definitely didn't do him any favors either. Wells had a catcher's interference, for instance, and Will Warren himself had multiple balks in 1 inning, which was just baffling to me. Just completely lost control. So I can't blame it on Wells or anybody else. It was Warren. He was just awful. It's a shame because he does have, like, his stuff doesn't move badly. It's just he doesn't locate and he doesn't have control. So, I mean, he's just got to get a hold of that. I assume that comes with more development. But as we've said, the kid is already 25 as well, so there's that. I mean, there's no particular time limit, but I would hope that he would be almost ready to go now. But if he's even a freaking mess against the Rockies, I don't think he's that close. I think he needs more time. And I know that it's good learning experiences here and there, but we're also in the midst of an intense race for first place in a playoff hunt. And these times are not the times for learning experiences. Just not the time for that. So there's no time for this kind of screwing up and repetitive lack of adjustment. I mean, it's just getting bad with him. But it buried them early. It was 6-0 by the end of the top of the third. All the offense could do was put a couple of runs up after that deficit happened. In the bottom of the third, Jazz got an RBI double, and then Verdugo hit his first home run in months. But that was it. The Rockies even added on 3 more after that, and the final score is 9-2. Not the game that you want, especially against a team like the Rockies at home. It's just not great. But today, as I said, they bounced back very nicely. Stroman had a pretty decent outing. The defense was all over the place in the first inning. The run that scored was his fault because the errors didn't happen until after runners were already on the corners with nobody out. So the 1 run in the first inning was an earned one, but I mean, Jazz had a bobble at third base. Glaber couldn't make that routine throw, turning a routine double play. So the first inning was a bit of a mess, but the Rockies did only get 1 run out of it, and then the offense immediately had Stroman's back. Stroman ultimately went 5 innings, only allowed 3 runs on 5 hits and struck out 5, did walk 3. It was an okay outing. It was whatever. He did get a win for it, so it was his 9th win on the year. ERA at 3.88 now. The bullpen locked it down, but the offense had their back. The backs of Stroman and the remainder of the bullpen after him, because at one point the game did get very close. But it started off, obviously, after the Rockies had taken a 1-0 lead with home run number 50, the clip that I played for you earlier, the 2-run shot in the bottom of the first to make it 2-1 Yankees. Glaber got an RBI single in the bottom of the second after that to make it 3-1, followed by a Soto RBI single to make it 4-1. Then the Rockies bought it within 1. After the top of the 5th, it was 4-3. Very close, and it was like that for a couple innings until, again, the Yankees' big guys just exploded. Bottom of the 7th, Soto's 37th home run made it 5-3, a solo shot. Then Judge after him with his 51st made it 6-3, and then Stanton after Judge with his 23rd, making it 7-3, the back-to-back-to-back I mentioned 25 times today. And in the bottom of the 8th, to make extra sure that the game was over, Glaber hit a 3-run shot with Verdugo and DJ on base to make it 10-3, and that was the final. So the Yankees grabbed 2 series victories this past week, despite how annoying and ugly Sunday and Tuesday were, ultimately winning 4 out of 5 after that, grabbing both series this past week. It ended up being a good one. And that's what I mean by saying you just got to keep your foot on the gas from this point forward, guys. This is the last full week of August. And then right when we talk again on Sunday, that starts September. That's the home stretch, baby. It's a home stretch. Oh, the Astros just homered, I think. Who was that, Diaz? Yup. That was a 2-run shot. All right, it's 5-3 Astros. They regain the lead. Homering to the deepest part of the ballpark. Wow. That was a bomb. Damn. He hit it at least 15 to 20 rows up in left center field, where the Orioles had that sort of triangle with the wall pushed back and way up high. Damn. All right, so the Astros regained the lead. We'll see if they blow it again, but otherwise the Astros are winning 5-3 right now at the point of the game that I'm watching at the time that I'm recording currently. But that was the week the Yankees had, guys. When it comes to the week coming up, Yankees are hopping on a train and heading to Washington. This week's a little weird. I'll explain why in a second. Because they're starting in Washington tomorrow night. They go right in on Monday, 6:45 p.m. Eastern, Monday the 26th. It'll be Nestor Cortez against Mitchell Parker, 6:45 p.m. in Washington. Tuesday it'll be 6:45 p.m. once again, 6:45 p.m. Eastern on the 27th. That'll be Garrett Cole against Patrick Corbin. That'll be interesting. And Wednesday the 28th will also be at 6:45 p.m. Eastern. This game will be on Amazon Prime Video for the Yankees' Amazon Prime Wednesdays. Carlos Rodon will be taking on Mackenzie Gore for the Nationals. So hopefully the Yankees at least win this series again. A sweep would be very nice, especially because the Nationals are nothing to write home about, to say the least. And pitching matchups are pretty solid if things remain consistent with the way they should be, and the offense does their thing. And that'll be the 3-game set because the Yankees have an off day on Thursday, so another nice off day in the middle of the week to reset things for the weekend. And this is where the weirdness comes in because they just finished off this nice little homestand against the Guardians and the Rockies. They hit the road for 3 against the Nationals, off day, and then they come right back home to face the Cardinals. And after the Cardinals, they hit the road again to go to Texas. It's like just weird here a little bit, but as far as next weekend with the Cardinals, Friday the 30th, that game will be at 7:05 p.m. Eastern. No official pitching matchups announced for this weekend as of yet. Saturday the 31st, the final day and game of August, will be at 1:05 p.m. Eastern. And Sunday, when we shall yap again on September the 1st, it'll be the final game of the 3-game set against the Cards. It'll be at 1:35 p.m. Eastern. I'll be definitely recording after that game wraps up. So those are your overall and specific recaps of this past week, my friends. It only took over an hour to do. How do you like that? So let's keep things moving here and move right on to Yankees news. Keep it moving. How you doing? Keep it moving. Fight the ADHD, Mike. Fight the ADHD. You got this. Well, glad you find that so funny. Any freaking way. Obviously, as usual, primarily injury and roster news. Got a few transactions that happened this past week, as well as a few updates on guys that are on their ways back. The first piece of news came from the middle of the week, when it was announced that Luis Gil was officially placed on the 15-day injured list, as I announced earlier, with that lower back strain of his. Again, Boone considers it to be minor. They're going to keep him active while he is on the injured list, but hopefully he's able to give his arm some rest, and we see if it does him any good by the time he's ready to go again, whether it be in the rotation or the bullpen. And in turn, they had recalled Will Warren for him to completely crap the bed again yesterday. So we'll see if he gets any more outings and chances. I pray to God that he doesn't. Friday it was announced that when Jazz Chisholm was officially reactivated, completely expected, although it's sad, Oswald Peraza was optioned back to AAA once again. So Peraza, it's good to see you again for a while there, buddy, but he's back in AAA, and Jazz has been back in the last couple of days, as we have seen. And the last official transaction, not much from this past week, was a confusing one, because despite him having not really been as sharp of late, very recently, and they did say this on the Yankee broadcast again, and I'll echo it once again here because it's very true. For a while, you have to admire, once again, the Matt Blake pitching lab and the Yankees overall when it comes to this sort of a thing, but mainly Matt Blake because he tends to do this sort of a thing. The Yankees really did catch lightning in a bottle there for a while with this guy, when he has otherwise, throughout the vast majority of the rest of his career, really just been a bad pitcher. I'm just going to come out and plainly say it. But the Yankees really helped transform this guy, and they really did get fortunate and really unlocked the utmost potential in him possible. Hasn't been as sharp of late, but I was still surprised to see this transaction. Maybe it still would have happened eventually with all of the bullpen reinforcements on the way, but surprised to see it happen right now, especially considering who it was for. But the Yankees chose to DFA Michael Tonkin today. Very odd, the timing of it. Very odd. And even though he hasn't been as sharp of late, I don't know. I expect him to at least make it to September, or at least when a lot of the other bullpen guys are reactivated. but not this soon, especially considering the fact that the guy who they called back up after he had cleared waivers after his DFAing a bunch of weeks ago, Phil Bickford, is back. This guy's terrible, so I don't really understand this. I mean, maybe it could be just because some of the bullpen guys are imminent, and maybe Bickford's just going to be DFA'd again ultimately soon, but I don't know. The timing is strange. I would have just rode with Tonkin, I think. So I think maybe it's just maybe they were short out there, so getting a fresh arm. And Tonkin could necessarily stay in the organization. As we know, DFAing doesn't mean that they're automatically gone. They have to be picked up. Otherwise, they'll be outrighted back to AAA, unless they choose to elect free agency. But he'll probably just get outrighted back to AAA, Tonkin, like Bickford did. But yeah, just odd timing, I guess. Other than being short out in the bullpen, I can't really think of much of a better reason for the timing of this, but even Bickford's an odd choice. I'm not a fan of his. I think I would have rather seen Yoendris Gomez just recalled, but I don't know. They chose to go down the Phil Bickford route. Really weird decision there. But that's really all the transactions that happened this past week, my friends. As of everybody coming back, I had mentioned all the names before that are working their way back and have officially started their rehab assignments as of this weekend. I'll just run through them really quick. You have Ian Hamilton. He began his rehab assignment with AA on August 24th, just yesterday. He tossed one scoreless inning and struck out the side. So that's definitely an encouraging sign from Ian Hamilton, who was a big part of the Yankee bullpen last year and coming into this year. I mean, he's dealt with a lot of injuries, and he hasn't really looked himself amidst dealing with that. But if this finally signifies that he is through all of that and he's ready to just put that behind him and pitch through the stretch here, he could be a big help to the bullpen. Bullpens look better this past week, as I said, but I mean, he could be an even further push for them, so I hope he continues to work his way back in that sense. Already talked about Luis Gil. Let's stick to pitching. We got Clark Schmidt next. He had a very successful first outing in his rehab assignment 2 days ago with AA Somerset. He only allowed one hit in 3 2/3 innings in his outing, and that one hit was a solo shot, but it was the only hit, so just one mistake. Walked one guy and struck out 6 in that little amount of time. And he threw 30 strikes out of 48 pitches. So that's some pretty solid command as well. He'll have at least one more minor league rehab start. And if everything goes well, then just in a couple of weeks, we could see Clark back. And like I've been saying, especially with all that's going on in the rotation right now, they could use him. And I'm excited about that. So let's get the guy back. He specifically even said himself that he was really happy with his command. As I said before, that's a really good strike-to-ball ratio, and he just felt like he was very consistent. So we love to hear that from Clark. Let's hope it continues on the up and up from there. So you got him, you got Ian Hamilton, you got F. Ross and Birdie still heating up down there. You even got Lou Trevino, who could end up silently being a weapon in some way or another. I mean, who knows? He did start his rehab assignment, as we said last week, on August 14th. And Boone just basically said that he's improving little by little each time that he goes out there. Not really sure if he'll have a role with the team, but he's still climbing his way back a little bit here. And then lastly, you have Cody Poteet when it comes to the pitching. And like all the rest, he began his rehab assignment this past week, throwing 2 innings in his first outing with AA. And then he had another outing this past weekend, so he's had 2 outings so far. The latest one actually being today, in fact, and he went 3 2/3, only allowing a run and 4 hits. First outing, 2 shutout innings. So he's looking pretty good so far. Obviously, Poteet is a good option to turn to as just a backup option for the rotation if need be. So that's another important piece to have back. You could possibly have him back for the home stretch as well if need be, if the rotation needs him. So it's important to get him back as well, and he's continuing to make some good progress in his rehabbing as well, already having 2 outings under his belt. So maybe within the next week and a half, we could see him reactivated as well. All the rest of the pitchers are the ones who are likely to be out until next year anyway. And as far as the hitters, I alluded to them before. You have John Birdie working his way back. He returned to action yesterday with his first minor league rehab game, and he homered in a 2-for-3 game, 3 RBI performance, and he was DHing in that game. So I mean, I really expect him to mainly be a utility guy if he is to be brought back up with the Yankees. We'll see what happens. But it's a good start from him in his rehab assignment. He went 0-for-2 in today's game. He played again, obviously. And then last but certainly not least, the man we mentioned before real briefly, Anthony Rizzo. He is also officially in rehab games. Hard to imagine, I know, with how harsh his injury was and how slow he was moving there. but he returned to action a couple of days ago. He started on Friday. In his first game, he had walked twice and went 0 for 1 in the process with a run scored. He was DHing in that game as well. And they're expecting Rizzo to serve as a DH at least 2 more times before the club incorporates some first base play. So this coming week, we should definitely be hearing about how Rizzo's playing down at first base in his rehab assignments. They say he's close to full strength, but they want to be very careful because some more healing has to be done to protect his bone. So like if he fell down, he could definitely easily re-injure it, so they got to be very careful here. But not fully healed yet, and he has been injured for nearly 2.5 months now, so it has definitely a very harsh injury, that right forearm fracture that he sustained back in mid-June. So still be monitoring his play, and like I said, when he's ready to go with not very many more overwhelmingly better options for first base immediately available to the Yankees currently, I think it'll be interesting to see one last time if Anthony Rizzo has anything left in the tank in this home stretch here. So, see how he continues to do in rehab and how he does when he's eventually ready to go. But otherwise, guys, lots of potential reinforcements coming up, as we have definitely hit on. That is the latest on all of them, as well as any roster transactions from this past week. So with that being said, we do only have the social media segment remaining for today to wrap up the show. It is an open-ended question today. Let's move right on to that. And it's a bit of a softball question this week. Not every single social media segment requires some deep or critical thinking, garnering a well-thought-out, unique, astute point. We can have some softer, more lighthearted questions here and there, and I figured I'd make it about Old Timers Day because it was nice to see it happen once again yesterday, especially celebrating my personal favorite team of all time, being the '09 team. And I figured I'd make the question about that. First off, I do want to say how nice it was to have the '09 team celebrated, though, because, like I've always said, I was born in January, very early January, just a couple of days after New Year's, of 1997. So some may still call me a baby. This coming January, I'll only be 28. So in my lifetime, as far as I have been on this earth, the Yankees have won the World Series 4 times. But in 98, 99, and 2000, I was 1, 2, and 3, going on 4, respectively, for the first 3 championships. I didn't see 96. I missed that by about 2 months. I was not alive for that again. Missed that by just a couple of months. The only one that I was really old enough to really be able to comprehend and enjoy with every ounce of my being and still fondly remember was 2009, when I was 12, about to turn 13. And I still hold it very close to my heart. That entire team, with Matsui being my World Series hero and whatnot, but just loving everyone on that roster from top to bottom just about. Seeing them celebrated yesterday was just something. Amidst the general awesome celebrating of Old Timers Day to begin with. Now, they did used to have it earlier on in the summer, and not necessarily always on a Saturday, and they always did used to play the Old Timers Day game that we may or may not be talking about in a second because it may or may not have to do with the question, but otherwise, it was just really nice to see again, nonetheless, especially in celebrating my beloved '09 Yankees. So yesterday was freaking awesome. I do miss the game being played, but nonetheless, I very much enjoyed them looking back on, reflecting, and celebrating the 2009 championship. So many guys there that I haven't seen in forever on the TV or at any capacity. I just want to say the guy who looks the coolest in my opinion still right now, I gotta say, AJ Burnett looks sick. He looks awesome. I know a lot of people aren't fans of tattoos, and really neither am I. I don't have a single tattoo, and I never will have one. I'm not a fan of them personally. You're more than welcome to have one if you want. That is entirely your prerogative, but I'm just personally not a fan of them myself, especially for myself. But I do think that they belong on certain people, and I think AJ is one of those people, and Age is doing him very nicely. He looks so badass, man. I mean, it's just really doing him well. He's aging very gracefully, and he just looks so cool. And it was good to see him back. Because even though AJ Burnett, for the vast majority of the times out there, was a pitcher that very much got on our nerves, he still pitched one of my favorite games of all time, Game 2 of the '09 World Series. And when he was on, you couldn't touch the guy. When he was off, it was a nightmare. But when he was on, there were few other pitchers in the game that were harder to even make contact with. Not to mention he still has one of the better curveballs I have seen. So to see him still looking as badass as he looks, even in older age, a bit older age, it was awesome. It was just so cool. Even Damaso Marte was there. That's just so cool, man. Damon was there. Obviously, Jerry Hairston Jr. was there. Obviously, the core four, duh. It was just such a cool celebration. It was just great. So as Old Timers Day always is for me, I rate it an A because I just love it so much. Just the general idea of it, what it represents, and how they execute it. Just another A. The one and only thing keeping it from an A+ for me is the same thing that's kept it from an A+ for as long as they have not had the games now, and that's not having the game. Because the game added a certain element of nostalgia and joy and just plain fun that I think is absent now. I don't think the interviews are a particularly bad thing, but the games are just different, man. It was so cool seeing the legends out there play a couple of innings. I don't know. It's just something really cool about it that you feel the void of it not happening now. That's it. But still, I very, very much enjoyed Old Timers Day. And that highlight reel and that clip package of the '09 team, ultimately ending in their championship, of course, was also just amazing to reflect upon. All the memories just come flooding back. Like I always say, I can only imagine what it's like to be an old-time Yankee fan and getting to experience that a dozen plus times. Like my great uncle, who's still alive, he's going to be 86 years old in a few months. He came here from Italy in the 50s, and he just got to see it all. Like, he got to see so much of it. And he's still alive and still following them closely and religiously. And, I envy that. Because just seeing it one time, really getting to enjoy and comprehend it was really just an otherworldly experience for me. So I can't imagine getting to experience that on a regular basis, almost the way that a lot of people even had. Even the people who got to enjoy the 90s dynasty. Them too. They got to see 4 titles in 5 years. So that's special as well. And almost a 6th with 2001. Just a couple outs away from a 6th. I don't want to talk about that. But anyway, just a really good Old Timers Day. I really enjoyed it. But speaking of not having the game anymore, let me get to the question because that is what it's about. The question is, does it bother you that they don't play the Old Timers Day game anymore? Or do you not care? Because I've seen this discussion a few times on the internet. My family's spoken about it. And I figured, you know what? With Old Timers Day being yesterday and us talking about enough hard-hitting Yankees topics all throughout the show today, why not get a little bit more lighthearted towards the end of the show and have a little bit of a softball question, huh? So, me before, as I said, I wouldn't say it bothers me, but I definitely think there's a certain element of Old Timers Day that's kind of missing as a result of not having it. Because it just added to the fun of it. It really did. It was nice to see guys who we consider to be legends or just solid baseball players, not having seen some of them play for as long as decades, taking the field again and just having a good time playing an exhibition game amongst their fellow legends. Just really cool stuff. So it doesn't bother me. I'm not angry about it, but I'm sad about it. I wish they played the game still. Obviously, if most of the players don't want to do it, then they don't want to do it. There's nothing you can do about it, but I miss it. I do. So that's my take on it. Let's see what some of you guys have to say. We'll start off with @RachelChan222 saying, can't say it bothers me, but I prefer that they did. It's a fun time for them and for us. Yeah, totally. @YankeeKen says they should play. Who could forget Hideki Matsui taking David Cone deep? I don't know who remembers this on this show. I don't know who remembers it, but I've mentioned it many times before, but I'll say it again here. I was there for that, my man, so I know exactly what you're talking about. That was one of my favorite in-person baseball moments of all time, and it wasn't even in a real game. Just goes to show you how much I love Matsui and how much of a hero he was to me, truly. That was one of my favorite in-person baseball moments ever. And it was an Old Timers Day game. I was in person for that. I have always been very proud of being able to say that. It was even more epic in person, my friend, and I'm glad to report that in case you also were not there in person. But, yeah, even just seeing it on TV, just seeing it in general, absolutely. It's moments like that that you live for. Exactly. That's a good example right there. Up next, we have Rebecca at Peace Now for Life. My good friend Rebecca says, honestly, it doesn't bother me. My favorite part is the introductions and interviews, but I know I'm in the minority. Yeah, I mean, it's up to your opinion ultimately, Rebecca. It is what it is. Fair enough. But, yeah, I would say you are in the minority. I would say that you are. Because I definitely miss it. I miss it a lot. I wouldn't say it makes me angry, but a part of me is slightly... I am upset about it enough to the point where I guess I'm slightly bothered, but I'm not, angry about it. I wouldn't cause an uproar about it. Definitely not. It's not that serious. But makes me sad. I really like seeing them play. Laura at Laura_Eismont, my other good friend. Thank you, Laura, for the reply. And thank you all the rest of you, of course, obviously, as well. Laura says, while I understand them not doing it anymore, I do miss seeing the old players playing a game together. It brings back the nostalgic feelings, and it was fun to watch them still have everything they had during their careers. That's pretty much how I feel. I get it. It's whatever. And there's nothing you can do if they don't want to do it. But I definitely miss it. Even if they didn't have what they had during their careers, yeah, it was just fun to see them play together. It really was. At Charlie Ricker 24 says, it bothers me because the guys seem to enjoy it and the fans obviously have always loved it. If there aren't enough old-timers that are able to or want to play, maybe you see if there are some current Yankees who would want to mix in with them to play a few innings at their speed. Yeah, I'm sure the current Yankees would be honored to do that. That's actually not a bad idea. I mean, it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit because it's supposed to be the retired legends, so I guess that kind of defeats the purpose. But I mean, if it allows the game to be played and they would be willing to play at a bit of a slower pace, I guess. I don't know. I think it'd get a little weird with that, actually. But I get it. Wanting to do everything you can to save the game because it was fun. So I hear that, Charlie, because it makes me sad, too. It does. At Briary_Yankee says, it's not the same anymore. The game is what made it special. I don't know about that. I think the game definitely significantly added to it and was an awesome part of it. I think just having the legends there in general and being able to shower them with your praise and love and seeing them come out again and greet the crowd and still be a part of the Yankees even after all these years, I think that's really the true core of Old Timers Day. But the game was definitely a very, very fun and special element to it, of course. So, while I don't think that that's what mainly made it special, it was definitely a very special part of it. I definitely agree with that. At Jason Marcachilli says, it's sad to me. The older I get, the more I realize things don't remain the same. I'm glad I had those memories, but feel bad for this generation of fans who don't get to see it. Well, yeah, I've gotten to see both. I've seen the vast majority of Old Timers Day games, of course, because I've been watching baseball since 2007. So I've seen all of them personally in real time from then all the way up until just a couple of years ago or so when they stopped it. So I got to see a lot of Old Timers Day games. And my favorite one of all, again, being seeing my hero, my World Series hero, Matsui, hitting a home run off David Cone. So I've seen a lot. But yeah, I do, for this brand new generation of fans who are really not going to experience that or maybe haven't experienced as many as some of the rest of us, I feel bad for them to a degree too because it's a fun portion of it. It's a fun part of it. At Dapple78 says, I used to go to them every year when I was younger, and I loved the game. So it bothers me a little now that they don't do anything. Well, that's fair, especially if you're one who went to them regularly like you did. I can definitely understand that because you have all those fond memories. I mean, I can definitely relate to that having seen the Matsui home run there. So I can understand that, especially if you went to them as religiously as you did. I definitely get that. At Boxcar45 says, I live outside of New York, so getting to Yankee Stadium requires planning, using leave, and spending money. I used to make a yearly trip for Old Timers Day. I figured even if the Yankees lost, I wouldn't feel like I wasted my money or time because I got to see the legends play. But now I have no interest. The ceremony is a nice feature, but it doesn't feel like it's enough to make it really special anymore. That said, I understand the players don't really want to play the game anymore, and they should absolutely have the right to say so. From a selfish standpoint, I wish they still played the game, but if the players really don't want to do it, it's unfortunate, but at least they're not getting rid of the celebration altogether, so at least it's something. An extended few replies to basically echo some solid thoughts. Yeah, I agree with basically all of that. But Not even living in New York and taking huge trips to go to each one, that's even more than the prior reply. So I respect the hell out of that. That's awesome. That must have been fun. I mean, a trip is what it is. I mean, it could be a lot, and especially if it's a lot of money, but to have that kind of commitment, especially to one specific thing like the Old Timers Day and the game and whatnot, that's awesome. And the logic that goes behind it adds up. That's really cool. So I definitely understand. Again, yeah, you respect the players and what they want or don't want, obviously, because it centers around them. And we're just there to show them our love. But, yeah, it stinks. It does stink. So that basically does echo some solid answers right there. I agree. Spencer at Musician DMD, my good buddy Spencer. Hope you're doing well, my friend. I did speak to you a few days ago. It was good to hear from you again. I'm glad you are still on the, well, it's slow, but still the path to healing, my friend. Very happy to hear it. Spencer says, I've accepted the reasons why they don't play an actual game anymore. I'm at peace with it. The players didn't really seem to genuinely like playing an actual game, at least not all of them, in my opinion. I am in agreement with Derek Jeter that Old Timers Day should be renamed. Old Timers Day is implicitly disparaging, especially because most of the players aren't what you would even consider to be old. I would also like to see more players from different years. Yeah, that's a whole other discussion, what Jeter said. Yeah, listen, I get what the players mean, and I've kind of accepted not having the game as well at this point either, because it's not the first year that they've done it like this anymore, so it is what it is, as much as I hate to say it and as sad as it makes me to say it. But yeah, Jeter saying about the Old Timers Day, I can't say I blame him. I mean, I'm not saying that Jeter's thin-skinned or sensitive. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that I'm so thick-skinned and I really don't care about that sort of a thing. I don't think it's that big of a deal that it's called Old Timers Day. But expressly for the logic that not many people there at this point are old, because they're celebrating a lot of the people from the 90s now and 2000s, and you're getting a bit on the younger to middle age side of things, which isn't old. I definitely understand maybe wanting to change the name for that reason, as more of the really old people continue to unfortunately pass on, and you're getting younger and younger again, celebrating some of the newly retired guys. But yeah, I guess I see what he's saying. I do. But what are you going to rename it? I don't know, Legends Day? That's kind of bland. I don't know. I guess you could think about it. But it's been what it's been called for, almost 80 years now. It's tradition. It's tradition. I know a lot of people don't care about tradition and whatever, come up with a new name. And that's fine. But I don't know. It's just tough to change the name of something that's existed for so many years. But I could see why, especially for someone like Jeter, be I guess I'm old now, even though I'm only around 50. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what you change it to. It's interesting. I guess another discussion to be had another day, more in depth. But yeah, I agree all around, Spencer. I think it's a very fair reply. All right, let's do the usual final two, because it's getting late early, as we always say. First up is my amazing girlfriend at Vic Salimo, and she says, while I understand the players not wanting to do it anymore, it's very sad not to see them play anymore. It was always very fun to see the legends play against each other, and a lot of good, happy memories came out of it. Yeah, it's true. That's pretty much how I feel. I hear you, babe. That's pretty much my feelings on the matter. So it's just sad to see the game go, but that's the deal. Last but certainly not least is my mom, Julia Gina Scudero, and she says, hi, Mike. Hi, Mom. Answer to your question is yes, it bothers me not to see the retired players not play a game on Old Timers Day. We had the 2009 team out there, and I certainly would have loved to see what a lot of those guys had left. I also agree with Jeter when he said he'd like to change the name of Old Timers Day. Not all of them are old. P.S. I love how they're playing for the most part right now, especially this past week. Let's hope it keeps going. Let's go Yankees. Hell yeah, Mom. Yeah, it would have been cool, especially if they still had the game going on. See the 2009 guys go at it. Definitely. I definitely agree with that, but they don't want to do it. But yeah, another person saying they want to change the name of Old Timers Day, because I know that discussion was coming up with Jeter and everything yesterday. My mom and I got to talking about it, and she actually agrees with it too. So another interesting point, that's Spencer and my mom thinking that the name of Old Timers Day should be changed. Do you agree with that, or do you not agree with it? continue the interaction, whether it be to me personally or maybe down in the comments on whatever platform you're listening on. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. I know there are some people with different schools of thoughts on this, so I'm very curious. But it's really interesting. Changing the name of Old Timers Day, that's definitely an entirely different discussion for another day. But yeah, I mean, for now, we're just going to have to remember the times when they used to play the Old Timers Day game. And maybe one day, I don't know, maybe they'll bring it back. Only time will tell. But for now, guys, that is it for episode 232 today, my friends. If you've made it to the end, thank you so much for interacting. And even if you didn't interact, just listening to the show all the way through to this point, listening to my crazy ass damn near yap you right off a cliff is an accomplishment in of itself. So congratulations to you on making it this far, and thank you from the bottom of my heart, as always, for making it this far for yet another fun episode of Yapping Yankees here. Few of the quick usual reminders to end the show here. Remember to follow me on all social medias if you do not already, my good people. Facebook fan page is Mike Scudero NY. My Twitter or X is at Mike Scudero, and my Instagram is Mike Scuds97. Please subscribe to Yapping Yankees on all 4 of the platforms it is available on if you have not already. Those 4 platforms are YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Like, subscribe, comment wherever you may be listening to spread the word and show your love for the show. And if you have any time at all to spare amidst these crazy times, and you happen to have missed any Yapping Yankees episodes, well, you can tune into any Yapping Yankees episode on SoundCloud, Apple, and Spotify. Episodes 1 all the way through to today's episode 232, are available on any of those 3. And you can check out any episode from episode 34 up to now on YouTube. But once again, I thank you 3,000 for listening to me yap today, my friends. I have been your host, Mike Scudero, as always, and we shall yap again next Sunday, September 1st. I cannot believe it. When I come at you with episode 233 of Yapping Yankees. But until then, my friends, as usual, hang in there, be patient, especially stay safe, look out for your loved ones, go ahead and kick life's ass this week, my friends, and Yanks, once again, do not take your foot off that gas. Keep it going through to Washington, and then returning home against St. Louis next weekend. It looks like the Astros may hold on here for the win. I don't want to jinx it. I hope I didn't just do that, but hopefully they hold on to the win. Can't believe I'm saying that, but first place is hanging in the balance here in the final stretch, so I got to do what I got to do. But hopefully they hang on here, and the Yankees can go into the new week starting fresh tomorrow with a 1.5-game lead as they try to hold on to first place in this home stretch here with September just around the corner. But we'll see what this coming week holds, my friends. Until next Sunday, could be an eventful day with rosters expanding and whatnot, but until then, take care, and let's go Yanks!